Have you ever wondered what a land-based learning day at Loveland might look like? If your child is heading to Loveland and you're curious, this is the episode for you. Join us as we explore what their day will look like, what should they bring, and how can you best support their experience. In this episode of Any Voices, we continue our conversation with Penny Mohr, Indigenous Education Coordinator at the Northeast School Division, to give you a full picture of what a day at Loveland is all about. From bug spray to bannock, from reflective smudging to joyful round dances, and everything in between. We'll walk through things your child might encounter, how we ensure safety and inclusivity, and why this day is more than just a field trip. It's a powerful opportunity for connection, community, and learning in a new way, on and with the land. Whether you're helping to pack a backpack or thinking about joining the day yourself, this is the episode that will give you an overview of the experience at Loveland. So let's get ready for a day on the land. Welcome to Northeast Voices, a podcast that spotlights the innovators and change makers in education. We're here to share the stories of inclusion, empowerment, and the impactful connections with the Northeast School Division and beyond, focusing on the pivotal role of students, families, and teachers. Join us as we dive into the conversations revealing the strategies and moments shaping the future of education. Any Voices is your platform for inspiration and connection, and is recorded in the Northeast School Division, sharing the land of Treaties 4, 5, 6, and homeland of the Métis in Northeast Saskatchewan. Be sure to subscribe and join our community of innovators and change makers. Let's get started.
So, Penny, tell me a little bit more. I just received a message from my student's teacher. My daughter is going to go to Loveland. What does that mean? So if we kind of reset it as just a very quick overview of the teacher has outlined the day for me as a parent. Yeah. Do you get some frequently asked questions from parents, or could I go as a parent if I'm curious and I'd like to be part of it? Tell me a little bit more about that.
We like I said before, we welcome everyone. And I don't know of a teacher that wouldn't go on a field trip that wouldn't say, oh no, I don't need help. Like, I really hope that they advise. That's part of community, is parents
Yes.
are a big part of community. And so that connection we have with parents or grandparents that used to be a big part, and we worked really hard, that was severed because of COVID. And we are trying to get back to that. But what a great opportunity for you to come out. And I know sometimes it's tough because of work schedules and things like that. But know that, yeah, we're okay with parents coming out. And if you have questions, you can ask those questions. That's how we learn, right? All about learning. And I've got broad shoulders, got my big coat on today. So you can ask, and I will answer them in a respectful manner. Absolutely. So it's a good to inform yourself, because as people are I like to call it their reconciliation journey. So learning about Canada's past, there's a lot of questions. And a lot of times I hear parents and other adults talk about, well, we never learned that in school, or I didn't know that that was the case, or that's a story I didn't know. And how else are you going to learn it, right? So sometimes this is a good way to just to inform yourself that that's not media. Okay.
Yes.
So it's not media. So you're going to come and you're going to experience and enjoy the day. I hope you enjoy the day. It's always a good one. And get to know Indigenous culture in a different way. Because sometimes not all of us have had good experiences, or we have preconceived ideas. I always talk about, I know we've talked about it, Stephanie, about stereotypes, and that stereotypes occur in our brains because we don't have the learning, we haven't had the experience. And so our brains, this is a brain research study, fills it in with things that we may have heard that may or may not be true, but it's pieces of information that somehow that have come in. So we pop those in. And so that's where stereotypes come in. And so if you have another experience that is not what your stereotype says, that dispels that. And so it really makes it a non-divisive place, right? So we can see what divisive politics and divisive opinions do.
Yes.
And in case you're watching this much later, this is 2025.
Right.
Google it, you'll find out. But that helps change that perspective, that worldview, is that find out for yourself. about what it is and what a rich culture it is. It isn't a dead culture, it is a living culture, and that we are reclaiming it. Like, so I do not have all the answers. That's why I have elders and I have other people who have other gifts that help me along the way. But we totally invite parents, and I'm sure teachers would be thrilled to have another set of hands, another set of eyes, another set of ears to be with their students as well. And what a great way to connect with your kid for a day that isn't a like it's planned, but it's not micromanaged, let's put it that way. So
Yeah.
we invite parents all the time. So you got this invitation. And yes, as a parent, reach out to your school and say, oh, I would love to come out. There's open invitations also to NESD employees. If you have a
Yes.
day you want to come and spend it and learn, you're welcome anytime. I'll probably put you to work. I won't lie because more hands make the
Yes.
work a little lighter, but it's always a really, really good day. So your students coming out there, there's a couple things, like I said, it's not we don't have permanent shelters. We always have the teepees up, so we do have protection from the sun or the elements that happen to be. But you have to be like really well aware that we are out in nature. We're in this is their house. We're
Yeah.
not,
Yes.
so we
I
do
like how
keep
you
it
describe that. We are in their
clean.
house and
Yeah,
it's Saskatchewan.
it's
So make sure
Saskatchewan.
you bring the appropriate sunscreen and bug
Yes,
spray, and your teacher will
exactly.
will send those
Yeah.
reminders.
And it is we do have bush, like, we do have ticks, we do get the kids we try and check them, but be aware that, yes, that this is nature, this isn't a sterile playground.
Mm.
This is hopefully they're in the bush and they gather a lot of twigs, I'll tell you, rocks and twigs, and you get lots of those. But that does happen. So that is something to be aware of. So sometimes, like, I know some days kids come out and it's really, really hot. Make sure they have lots of water. Make sure that they have a hat, right? Because we don't want anyone getting sick because they're out there. And we do I have always extra water out there, but we do want kids to be healthy and happy while they're out there. So make
Yeah.
sure that they have something like that. And sometimes even like a longer pants. So they've your kids sunburns. I have a child who sunburns quite easily.
Yeah.
So I would have like a thinner, longer sleeves or pants or an appropriate shoes. I would say like flip-flops are for the beach or in the shower. They're not necessarily good
Yes.
for out in love because kids do want to run. And as smooth as we're trying to make it, the land is not like steamrolled. It's not that way. So
Yes.
we do want like some running shoes or some athletic like sandals or something like that. Just not a flip flop. It just doesn't really work. So make sure that they're dressed appropriate. If you know it's going to be a cool day, have them bring like a bunny hug or a rain jacket. Just really watch the weather because some teachers come regardless. If it's really bad, depending on the age of the student,
Right.
I have canceled, like, where it's like, it is pouring rain. This would be okay for grade 8s. It's not okay for
Right.
grade 2s. So, know that you might have disappointed kids day because depending on what the weather is like, we may have to cancel as well. But, there's outhouses, um, and we don't have issues with also, like, telling kids, like, in a gentle way about behaviors and things like that. No, it's always done in a traditional way. It's not that we always will tell a story or kind of say, "Well, what do you think about this?" That
Mhm.
behavior. So if your kid does come home and say, "Oh, that mean Mrs. Moore, she was, like, really mean and gave me heck," no, usually it's pointed out because either it's a safety
Yes.
concern or the person is not being very nice to the group. Is that part. It's that collective wellness that we want. So we do try that. We do risky play. Like, we have pointy sticks. I've had a couple teachers, "Oh, that stick is pointy." Well, yeah, because it's a spear, like, how else do you throw a spear? Like, we
Yes.
can't do that. So, there are things like that, but we always say or we throw rocks. There's some games that we throw rocks, but we have rules and the kids are actually really good about following those rules to make sure
Mhm.
that they're safe, right? It's I'm not doing the lawn darts of the '80s, it's not those
Yes.
things,
Yeah.
but
It's
but
all in
sometimes
the context and the
it's
space
all in
that
the
they're in.
context, or they're climbing on, like, branches or not branches, they're not climbing up trees, but over logs and things like that.
Yes.
The kids are doing that, and that there's something about that's a really good part of childhood. So they may They may be if they're building something, because sometimes we build travois or we'll build like structures or something. Like, we have clippers, like, for cutting branches. We make
Yes.
mobiles with those. So we do use some tools that your student may not have experience with, but we
Correct.
always do it in a safe manner. We point it out. We're watching when they're using it, and then gently, if they're not using it correctly, say, "Oh, let's stop for a second and think about what we're
Mhm.
doing." So those things. So know that there is risky play. They might come home with a scratch and maybe a bruise. And that usually is a good sign of fun in a childhood, really, being out on the land. So we try not to send them home with scratches and bruises, but it does happen. It
Yes.
can happen because they're running full speed and they trip on their own feet, right? So those things
Yes.
can happen. But we do, and sometimes we have fires. Like, we cook bannock on a stick over the fire. They might have a hot dog roast or any number of things. Or if it's a cold day, maybe we're having tea or hot chocolate on the fire. So that's what I mean by risky play and some risk, that know that it isn't like without risk, but we mitigate and we're very aware of students and what they're doing. And we talk about why they need to be cautious. And I think that's important too. Sometimes we forget about some of those lessons as well. So that's something to know as a parent. So prepare them for the day, for the weather, have snacks because kids are
Yeah.
moving a lot. So I always have a couple extra snacks because sometimes kids forget their lunches in the classroom or that happens. But
Mhm.
it always seems that it's quite a beautiful thing that everybody seems to share. It's lovely. Everybody has extra, it seems. As an parent, you should know that sometimes we have elders that and knowledge keepers that come out because they work with us. They're vetted. They're vetted individuals. It's not that we're just letting anyone on the land. So know that as well, that we do try and make it as safe as possible. But another part of that will be that there will be a note or a notification that your student will be smudging. And we will talk about the role of smudging and really what that means. But you will be notified. It isn't that you will not have prior knowledge to that. So that will be part of the note that goes home with ample amount of time for you to ask questions or make some inquiries about if it isn't thorough enough about what's actually gonna go on. So we'll talk about smudging and what they need to bring and maybe what the experience will be just after this. But as parents, and this is always the big one, is that smudging and that gratitude, that tobacco gratitude. And as I said earlier in the previous one, know that it's not a religious or ceremonial thing. It is a cultural practice, which is slightly different. We're not asking you to forgo your religion. We are very respectful of that. So when we smudge, it's, as I said earlier, it's something that how we prepare ourselves for a good day. It's like a clean
Yes.
slate.
It
That
is.
clean slate that happens is it's a fantastic experience. So we do that. And then afterwards, after we're all finished smudging, I often will give each student just a pinch of tobacco. And that pinch of tobacco, again, this is just a protocol thing. So when we're going to get learning, we always give a gift to like the elder or the knowledge keeper to honor their gift of their knowledge.
Mhm.
And so because we're on the land, we want to acknowledge the land and the gifts the land is going to give us that day, whether it's a teaching, whether it's just being there, the sunshine, the fresh air, the birds, like maybe it's gratitude for the people who brought you for that field trip, that learning outside the classroom that day. Maybe it's gratitude because you have a really awesome mom and dad that do really nice things, or a grandma or a grandpa, or people that are in your life that make a difference for you, that help you learn and help you grow and help you thrive. So
Yeah.
we do that little bit of self-reflection about what we're grateful for. And we respectfully go and we lay it on the land and we think about all those things, like all those things I just talked about. And we take just a moment of kind of like a thank you to reset ourselves to think about like we don't teach gratitude enough or we don't talk about it sometimes enough. So it really sets us those two things that we do every morning. That sets us up in a really good way and know that it's not a religious thing. It's not ceremony. know
And I
that.
think there was one other thing that you mentioned earlier. If we're going around in the circle during that grounding moment with the
Right.
smudge and getting ready for the day, but if you came to me and I wasn't ready in the moment,
Yeah. Yeah, was it ready or that there are some people's beliefs, and it's totally okay. All we ask is that you just put your hands across and we're like, "Okay," and we just move along. We just move along, and then you don't have to smudge, and we're not forcing anyone. It's just a cultural practice, and sometimes that is a concern. Is like, "Oh, we're gonna be pray." No, we don't. When the students come out, we do
right.
not have the religious aspect of it. That's a totally different situation.
So we go through
That
those
is, yeah.
morning activities. The teacher has worked with Penny to plan what the day will be. So it's an opportunity to experience learning on the land, to make connections between what they're learning outside on the land with the curriculum that they're studying. It's a chance for teachers to see them in a different element because we talked in the earlier episode the joy that comes from students being in different environments. And the day often goes by really quickly.
It
And then right
does.
before you go to wrap up the day, before a student gets on the bus to come back home so that he can excitedly tell me all about what happened, how do you close the day?
Okay, sometimes we close depending on the time frame. Sometimes we do a round dance, and that's where we all join hands and our feet actually never leave Mother Earth. We do it is sometimes a round dance is called a friendship dance. Other
That's it.
round dances, depending on which group you're part, is something else. Like it's a ceremonial thing. So I call it a round dance or a friendship dance. We'll do that. We'll play some music with some song, and it sounds in this big space. It reverberates off the forest. It sounds amazing when we're out there. So we'll do a round dance, but we always this is something I started because it's something that I am familiar with when I meet with other groups and other indigenous people is that we start with a handshake and we literally it's like a snake. Everybody follows each other. We all
Yeah.
shake each other's hand and what when we do that, we say to each other, "Thank you for a really good day." And that helps build that idea of community because everybody, it's not the teachers that provide a good day. It's every student has a role. We all have roles in making each other's day a good day. And so we respectfully shake hands, say thank you. It was a good day. Thank you for the good day. We say that. And then we pick up our stuff. We make sure that there's said this the squirrels are terrible about recycling and picking up garbage. I haven't been able to train them. So we make sure that we leave the land always like we do. We've thanked each other. We're feeling good. We've built some more community throughout the day with team building. That's really part of it. Building better relationships between students and with their teachers as well, which is
Yes.
really a great thing. And parents, parents get to see kids in different situations, right? So we do that to get on the bus. The bus ride usually is fairly quiet going home. And then when they get home, then they're ready to tell you about their great day. So, yeah.
So I wanted to say thank you to Penny for sharing that parent perspective of what to expect when you head to Loveland. So we hope that your child, your student, has a chance to experience that opportunity while they're in the Northeast School Division. And if you ever have any other questions or anything, you're always welcome to reach out to the teacher, and the teacher can
Yep.
connect you with Penny if you have further questions. And remember, parents are always welcome to join the day at Loveland and become part of that experience, and that we are all lifelong learners building that sense of community and learning who we are in our community, within the world, on the land, and how we're all connected. So with that, we'll wrap up this episode. So feel free, like I said before, to
Yeah.
reach out. Penny, anything to add before we wrap things up?
Um, no, as I said in the previous episode as well, everybody is welcome. And I mean, like all people, we as Indigenous people, we recognize every person has gifts. Some of us
Mm.
have more challenges than others. And so we do try and have love being an inclusive space. So
Yes.
know that everybody is welcome. Um, Sometimes I just need a little extra information so that we can make everybody's day as comfortable and as inclusive as we possibly can. So know that no child should ever be left behind.
So I want to say thank you, Penny, for
Yeah.
joining us on this episode of Any Voices, and stay tuned for more episodes in this series with Penny. And if you ever have any questions, please email either one of us and we'll talk about those in our future podcast conversations. Thanks for joining us, Penny.
No, thank you, Steph.
As we close this episode, we hope that you're feeling more connected and confident about your child's upcoming land-based learning visit to Loveland. Whether it's their first time on the land or an opportunity to experience learning in a different way, know that this experience is rooted in care, connection, curriculum, and community. As Penny mentioned, every student has a role. We all have roles in making each other's day a good day. At Loveland, learning is a shared journey where students, teachers, and families all help shape the experience. Thank you for taking the time to listen, to learn, and to walk alongside your child. And remember, you're always welcome to join us on the land. Reach out to your child's teacher if you'd like to be part of the day. Thank you for being on this journey with us. See you in the next episode. Thanks for listening. Thank you for joining our community of innovators and change makers. We hope the conversations and stories have ignited a spark within. We'd like to express our gratitude to our dedicated Northeast educators. Until next time, remember to subscribe to Any Voices and join us on the next episode as we share the stories of learning shaping our future. Thanks for listening.